Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. I Breathed a Body, issue number 1 from Aftershock Comics. This is the only indie book that I believe I'm reading for the week. In fact, right now I actually got through everything that I was gonna. But you guys know I always grab my backpack and I go to the comic book store and I just shove it full of a bunch of comic books. You know what I'm saying? Like ooh, ooh, ooh. And this is the final one that I found for the week. Maybe there'll be something else that pops up. I don't know, whatever. But for the most part, this is it. I'm going to talk a little bit about this, and this I've got some positives and some criticisms about it. Also, don't forget to check out Gotham Central Comics and Collectibles right here in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. They have got an exclusive cover for you. I made a mistake on the thing, and it's not 500 that's limited to. This one limited to 250. So quick update on that. There's only going to be 250 copies available. So if you want one of those extremely exclusive copies, that's how you do it. Go check out their website for more. Anyway, this issue is called An Unforeseen Innovation. Zach Thomas is the writer. Andy McDonald is on art. Triona Farrell doing the colors and the letters. Hassan Otsmane-Elhaou. I think I'm messing up that name. I probably am. Andy McDonald and Trina Farrell do the main covers, couple of variant covers, incentive covers, logo by Tom Mueller, and let's go on from there. So we have this really weird opening, which I guess if you're gonna have a really weird part in a story, that's probably where you want to do it. And there's definitely some information there that you should read. You should try to get where they're coming from because it's going to impact a whole lot of what happens in the rest of the story. Now, there's this kid in here, this little kid with like half of his head shaven, and the art's really weird because for the most part he looks like just some little kid, and at some point he just completely goes flip mode and he looks like a fully grown adult, and it's like, what the hell just happened here? And I don't know if that was just a mistake in the art or if it was purposeful in the art, because when you think about it, this is a comic book that's meant to not take on reality, right? The whole purpose of this comic book is to show what could happen with the internet in and of itself. Notice the little magical butterfly wings on the top of this phone. That's actually a real thing, because there's one part where the girl goes and like tosses her phone. It looks at first like she's just flipping her phone, but little electronic butterfly wings actually come out and flutter it down. I'm like, well, that's effing weird, man. This alternate reality place. Anyway, what's the name of this guy? My 19-year-old. She talks about this YouTuber, and I've watched a bunch of his videos. Crap. Oh, what the hell is this guy's name? Anyway, he does a whole bunch. Kyle Exum. His name is Kyle Exum. Excuse me. He does a bunch of cool videos where he talks about his generation, what they're going to be like as adults, and really funny stuff. The guy is brilliant. All right, let's just call it out. The guy is brilliant. To be able to see what your future selves are going to look like in the future is like, it's very introspective, and you got to give the guy massive amounts of credit. Plus, he's extremely talented for doing stuff just in his home. Really well done. Great sense of like cinematography. Like, if I had the sense that this guy has for my comic book reviews instead of just this old thing that you see all the time, which I change once in a while, I'd probably have a billion views. You know what I'm saying? Just, it is what it is. Anyway, um I feel like, similar to that, this this is taking a look at where the future of social media is going to go. Because you got your Snapchat, which is very different from your Instagram, which is very different for the purposes of Facebook, and then there's all the craziness that happens on Twitter. There's all these different social media platforms. There's Paramore, which is, in case you don't like Twitter and the censorship, or oh, let's do this also. But oh, look, the very first thing we censor is a conservative guy. Yo, like, there's TikTok, all these different things for very specific reasons, right? And like, they all have their own purposes. Tumblr, Jesus, the individual blogs. You remember when everything was just an AOL chat room for crying out loud? Ooh, got the chills, man. Got the chills. Remember freaking MySpace and all that stuff? Come on now. So anyway, this is basically just another version of what can happen, and there's some insanity here. The pitch, as it was given to me for this, was The Social Network. Yes, the Facebook movie. The Social Network meets Hellraiser. So there's some spiritual alter demonic hell thing that comes forward. And I could see where this is going, and I kind of dig on it. I do. Because when you think about the excesses that we're willing to go through, you know what I'm saying? When you think about the idea that in, like, let's say in the wrestling world, for instance, remember back in the day when hitting someone with a foreign object would drop them and that would be the end of the match, right? And do a finisher on someone and that's it, it's over. And God forbid you actually put somebody through a table, the whole thing's over and whatnot. Here, like nowadays, multiple of these things happen and all sorts of crazy, high flying, super dangerous stuff. And it's like, what is the purpose of these things? Like like five finishing moves just to finish a guy because it's no longer a finishing move anymore, right? It's like a finisher divided by so and so. Like what's gonna happen next? You know, like here vines were always short little clips of things. Apparently, it wasn't short enough. Let's go to TikTok, and even Twitter had to realize 120 characters or whatever it was, 122 characters, whatever wasn't enough. You got to go to 240, 244, whatever the hell it is. You know what I'm saying? There's always something. There's always something new. What's going to be the next big thing that we're going to do? And it's always going to be some temporary thing. In the clothing design industry, this super competitive multimedia, multi billions and billions of dollars in here. In fact, there's more theft in the clothing industry than there is profits in most industries. That's how profitable clothing lines are. And they don't just have summer, winter, spring, fall. You know what I'm saying? They have multiple seasons. Like every 2 weeks, there's a new design being put out. Why? Because you have to stay ahead of the curve. You have to make sure the companies like, the Costco's and all this stuff can't ever get ahead. They can't ever have a chance. So we've got to make sure that we can market this. Because, if Amazon, especially the online world, if Amazon can ever keep up to date with the clothing designs and whatnot, no. Even with their super fast delivery, by the time you see something new on Amazon and are able to get it to you, the season's already halfway over. You know what I'm saying? Your clothes will be out of style by the time that you get them. You know what I'm saying? Put them through their first wash. I mean, that's the whole purpose of it. And it's like when you think about the conglomerate, when you think about the corporations and all these different things that they're trying to do, basically old people that make me look young, old people who are trying to get into the minds of these kids and decide what we're going to do, what we're going to make them do, what's going to be the next big thing that they're going to love. It would only make sense that in some small way, this would be the outcome. I'm going to remove my skin in different ways, and I'm going to take this image before I die, and you will remember me. And will it be forever? It seems like it makes no sense, right? But I mean, nothing makes sense. People talk smack and sometimes actually smack somebody, whatever, like, oh, no, what? Not realizing you just made an enemy for life. This person is never going to be cool with you. You know what I'm saying? And the person is probably also going to beat you down. But we do things without ever thinking about them, right? Oh, I'm going to quit my job because you need me more than I need you. What do you mean? What exactly do you mean by it's an employer's market? You know what I'm saying? Like people don't understand that there are consequences to their actions and everything is so reactionary. What people getting upset if I don't like a comic book that they like. And I go into a detailed explanation about why I won't like said comic book, but they're just like, well, I like this comic book. Obviously, we disagree, so unsubscribed. I've never seen your name before, so I doubt you were ever subscribed, bruh. And your unsubscription doesn't exactly do me any kind of harm. I'm okay with it. have a good day. You just honestly also consider getting some therapy. Like everybody's just so damn reactionary nowadays. Nobody gives it time for anything to sit in. And that's what's happening here. You did that live. You did that live. That's There's a lot here. Listen, I'm not saying that this is the greatest comic book ever made because it's not. I'm not saying it's the worst either. It's not. It's somewhere in the middle. Kind of vague, right? Well, let's see what happens with issue 2. And I am interested in what happens with issue 2. Now, everything that I just said was pretty complimentary, right? Well, now let's get into something else. Can you read this? I can't read this. I'm sitting here reading. I'm trying to read all this stuff. I'm like, dude, what the frick? Like, look at what the hell? Like, I came here to wake. I came here to wake art. Oh no, I came here to make art with this kid. What was I thinking? Like highlighting things instead of bold facing them. The letters are so small. You know, I haven't had to say it in a long time, but I've always talked about how a letterer can make or break the professional look of a comic book, you know? In this particular case, Otsmane-Elhaou, damn it, Hassan Otsmane-Elhaou, for me, broke this comic book. And I've never had a bad thing to say about this person's work before. Well, I'm having a hard time finding where the freaking, there we go, the little footrest for me is. I've never had a bad thing to say about this man's work before. So it's really odd, right? That all of a sudden this just doesn't work and it's something so radical, something so different. Hassan has this incredible, Hassan has this incredible way of doing different letter styles. And for the most part, it's typically always impressed me. But sometimes you do something where it's like, I know you think this looks good on the paper or whatever it is, the computer that you're looking at. But when it comes to actual print, maybe do a sample page. Because I saw this. And even when I was downloading the images off of reputable, I think it was Major Spoilers where I got this that website where I got these images from that were played in the beginning of this. Nah, dude, I couldn't read it. I'm like, I can't read that. I've got the physical copy right here of the comic book, and I'm all over the place trying to look. The M's look like W's and vice versa, and just it's not very well put together. It's funny. If anything was, especially in this comic book where there's so much talking, and you need to understand everything that's being said. When you make the letters so hard for me to read, you have messed up royally. I hate to say this, but the thing that makes me not like this comic book is the letters. I've never had that problem before with Hassan. He's always done an amazing job. This one time, though, you want to talk about shitting the bed? The lettering in this comic book essentially made it, quite literally, unreadable. That's a damn shame. Okay, all that being said, I'm going to start talking a little bit about something outside of the comic book itself. And I guess for the most part, it's just stuff that I want to get off my chest. My peeps, we have got to learn how to take more responsibility for ourselves and our actions. And we've got to understand what a vote actually is. This is going to be politically charged, and I'm probably going to wind up pissing a couple people off. Sorry, I hope you guys get better. Today is the 20th of January, 2021, and yesterday on CNN, the 19th, I saw this segment where some people were talking about removing conservatives off of the internet, off of YouTube. They're excuse was some of them have larger audiences than even CNN. Of course, this segment was on CNN. So, of course, this is something that bothers CNN. We've also seen in the past, well, actually last year and previous to that, CNN making a concerted effort to limit YouTube viewership of private news, like regular people doing news, all the way to the point where they're actually having some channels removed. Case in point, and not just conservative ones, even like far super lib ones, like, or not even libs, but super progressive ones, like the Young Turks, who was actually one of the original YouTube partners for crying out loud, and they're trying to limit their platform a lot. What, to make way for themselves coming in? It's funny that at any given time you can see like 43,000 people watching MSNBC or NBC or CNN live on YouTube, and it's like you already have channels. Do you think that you're going to force your way into young people's lives? And I'm including myself in that also. In this particular case, I don't think like an old person when I watch my news. It's so funny to see that these sort of things happen. This is actually somewhat related to the comic book. President Trump, today is his last full day. No, actually, today is his last day in office at noon, Virginia time, so Eastern Standard Time. He will have to leave office. Otherwise, he will be considered a trespasser in the White House. So, yeah. He was removed off of Twitter. He was also removed off of Paramore, which is funny because that was supposed to be the conservative alternative. He was removed from TikTok, which is also funny because he tried to ban TikTok. He was removed from Facebook. It's funny because Zuckerberg is already a freaking conservative freaking nut job. You know what I'm saying? Already. He's a thief who stole the idea of freaking Facebook. The way this guy like even got started in the internet was basically rating the hotness of women. I mean, like this guy's and he doesn't even look like a human. He drinks water like a person who's trying to, like a lizard person who's trying to act like he's a person who drinks water. You know what I'm saying? All of these companies on the exact same day they banned Trump, and these are all private companies. I want us to think about what these things mean. The government is supposed to be public, meaning it's supposed to be transparent. I know that nowadays, especially young people, can't imagine that being the case. Well, no, some things have to be private. Welcome to Brainwashing 101. That is the public sector. It actually means that the public is supposed to know what's going on. The government is supposed to be transparent. These private operations that, sending the military to these different places and whatnot is not supposed to be a thing. That's not the reason why we have militaries. Our military is supposed to be reactionary. Our military is supposed to be that we build up, and if there is a threat, we will take that threat down. This is a republic where we're supposed to be able to elect public officials to represent us, including the president, down to the senators and even our mayors and our sheriffs and our judges. But they go out of their way to make sure that all of these things, as much as possible, are limited and that we can only, really pay attention to the presidency so the other stuff can happen and we don't pay attention to it. The private market is supposed to be that, hey, government, back the hell off. Now, there should be regulations on governments. There absolutely should be. But at the same time, we live in a world right now where the private sector is being made public, to the government at least, but the government, which is the public sector is not made accessible to the public. In fact, our words and our voices and our very lives, they're being stifled all the time. Money is given to the big rich people who can afford to donate to these big governments. They are the ones who are actually getting these stipends and whatnot. Justin Trudeau, just today up here in Canada, he goes and he says, oh yeah, my heart bleeds. My heart bleeds for the poor people. This happened earlier in the week. For the small companies, my heart bleeds for the poor, or for the small companies, the small businesses out there. If your heart really was bleeding, then you would die. And then we can actually try and get somebody in who actually cared about the small businesses, because you just keep on sending money to the big businesses. You, in and of yourself, are a big business. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. That's not to say I like Aaron O'Toole. That's and I mean, like, you know me. I'm the guy from Jersey. I'm the American from Jersey living in Canada here. You know what I'm saying? And I'm seeing that Joe Biden isn't any better than Donald Trump. Not really. Like, I finally seen one thing that he's done that I like, the Keystone Pipeline thing. Yes, stop that. Because necessity is the mother of all invention. And if we're going to move forward with green, then one of the ways to do that is to stop with the black, the oil. Like, we don't need that. We don't. We just don't need that. We need to be forward thinking. And again, necessity is the mother of all invention. This would push it forward. Our research into actual advancements for batteries, for once in the past, what, 50, 60 years, we haven't had any innovation in batteries, for crying out loud. We need to improve what we're doing so that we can work towards solar. The batteries are necessary because solar only works during the day, mind you. So batteries, anyway. Nickel, cadmium, and lithium just aren't going to cut it. We need something better, something that works off of something other than electrolytes. Anyhow, so when I see that vote was stifled and is mostly going towards Bernie, and I see all this stuff happening, and so much of that is hidden. But then I see that the private companies that are constantly being called, like Facebook and all that, constantly being called up to stand before Congress and whatnot. I see this and I can't help but to think to myself, how did all of these individual companies ban Trump, who is really only a problem on Twitter? Like, realistically, he's only a problem on Twitter. And yeah, I don't like what Trump has to say. I really don't. I despise what he's got to say. But I have to acknowledge that for all of those companies to ban him, to block him, to boot his ass off their platforms, including Paramore, all on the exact same day, I'm pretty sure that would be called collusion anywhere else. But the majority of people, right? Not that 33% that's always going to, 34%, whatever, that's always going to be for the conservative side no matter what. The rest of us, so happy that Trump was gone that it's like, but you realize the precedent that you're setting right now. I doubt that Trump is going to be prosecuted at the federal level. I'm pretty sure that he's going to be pardoned by Biden, because that's what the offices always do with each other. They always pardon the outgoing president because we don't want them to suffer any consequences for things, because I want the same thing to be done for me. I want for if when I do something illicit, I want to be pardoned for it. I don't want to have to face any punishment for it. So I'm going to pardon this guy so that the future person knows, I should pardon this guy also. Trump's the guy who just simply didn't know how to color then the boxes, for crying out loud. So he never got that crap. But I'm positive he's going to be pardoned, because we know that Joe Biden is going to do some stupid things also that he's going to want to be pardoned for. So I'm not saying anything, just putting that out there. And now the very next day, CNN has a segment, and they knew this was going to happen, and they're so happy to be able to put this out there. We need to start banning more conservatives because they have a larger audience than us here at CNN. That might also get a bunch of people elated, because that's what they do. First they came for the socialists, but I wasn't a socialist, so I didn't care. Then they came for, I don't remember how everything goes, but I mean, come on, right? This poem is everything. And we have to think about it. Just because they're going after people, like so many of us live inside of a wind tunnel. You know, my wife was just saying earlier how she hates Bill Maher because me stuff. I'm like, you never like anything that he says? No, nothing. Let's sit down and watch a clip. And I sat down and I showed her a clip of, some stuff and whatnot. She's like, okay, I can agree with what he's saying there. Okay, I can agree with what he's saying there. See, that's what I'm talking about. That thing right there. Blah, 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 blah. But you said you don't agree with anything. You just said you like two things before you got to this part. Yeah, I know. Okay, what? So I do like some of the things. I was like, so where do you actually get to hear Bill Maher from? Nowadays, where do you hear it from? Like, well, they'll post things on my groups that I'm in Facebook and whatever. So they clip out certain parts and show you that stuff. Yeah. So when you don't have anything in context, at least often you have the other things that maybe people would agree with. It's literally just some people out there, a couple of people who are showing you that Bill Maher bad, Bill Maher bad, Bill Maher bad. By the way, Bill Maher is a jackass. Screw Bill Maher. You know what I'm saying? He's an asshole from Jersey. I can relate. You know what I'm saying? Screw that guy. But when push comes to shove, let's be realistic. If somebody's only sending you clips of things that they know that you're going to hate, you're going to suddenly say, I hate Bill Maher. He doesn't do anything good that I like because nobody sends you the good stuff, only things that they want you to say he's bad for. So, wind funnel. This is the bubble that you allow yourself to exist in. We all do that to some degree. When I look at Trump being banned and a whole bunch of people saying hoorah, when I look at CNN doing a segment where they're saying we got to ban more conservatives, and people are like, huh? I can't help but to think that when they come for you, what are you going to say then? And what are the others who they haven't come for yet? What are they going to say about you? See, because I can fully see at some point or another, even a Marvel or a DC or even an Aftershock, who knows, saying, I don't like this person doing his independent reviews because YouTube gives him too much of a platform. We need to remove that platform from this person. So because we don't like his reviews. It seems like such a far stretch of the imagination, right? But isn't that what this book is actually all about in the first place? It's about seeing the foreseeable future. People were happy when Alex Jones got deplatformed. People are happy that Trump got deplatformed. People are pleased with the idea of stifling the conservatives. Besides the fact that you're putting rats on a sinking ship, and you know that they're going to start fighting you very soon. And they've already started in many ways. Think about this also. Let's say, just like the person who says, yeah, let's fight. Because in their mind, I'm going to hit you and you're going to drop and it's going to be over. In my life, I've seen very few times with equally matched people where someone gets one shot and knocked the hell out and the fight's over. There are very, very few times in life when I've ever seen that. I mean, even me, it's never happened to me, and I've never actually did it to somebody else. It's never ever happened. It's a scarcity. So someone thinking, I'm going to get into a fight with you. Yeah, you want to fight me? All right. Yeah, go ahead. Let's go, buddy. Let's go. I'm going to knock you out. No, you're not. No, the odds are hugely stacked against you. No, you are not. All right. What's going to happen is you're both going to come out of this in really bad shape, and then the cops are going to show up, and that's going to be your ass. And you're going to feel as stupid as you look. All right. Likewise here. Just because they're banning people that you may not like and you don't want to hear, the trick is to turn the channel. That's just, it's an 80s kid mentality. You know what I'm saying? When the parents are like, I don't like Howard Stern. Yeah, I don't either. That's why I turn the channel. Yeah, but you could be influenced. Okay, that's stupid. And even if I like Howard Stern, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Who's it going to hurt? You know? Deplatforming people, you got to think about who has the interest. right? Who benefits from something like that happening? We like to think that we do. That's not what happens. It's the big companies who are going to benefit. Because at the end of the day, they want YouTube shut down. They hate the idea that there's a YouTube and several other different platforms out there where people can have their independent thoughts and they can be put out there and they can find people of a like mind. All right? Sure, sometimes there are dangerous people out there too, but who decides who's dangerous? Especially when the government can interfere in private companies and when private companies can collude. You know, when I used to work at a gas station in Jersey, I was told if somebody ever calls you on the phone and asks what the gas price is, you have to tell them you have to come in and look for yourself. You cannot give numbers over the phone, even if it's a lot. You cannot give numbers over the phone. It's illegal because it's considered collusion because it could be because that means that then gas stations call up and be like, hey, what's your price going to be? Okay, cool, I'm going to put my price at a similar thing. Now you could drive to you can do a comp shop, you could drive to a different gas station, all the different gas stations within 5 miles, and check out those prices and be like, oh, hey, what is that? You can absolutely do that. The problem is actually doing it over the phone where there's communication. Because if you look for something yourself, cool. But calling and just asking, hey, what are we going to set the price at this week? Even here in Canada, the whole idea of the collusion with the bread, with the Loblaws situation, go and look that up. Loblaws bread situation is just like 2 years ago. They were supposed to get into a lot of trouble for that. And instead, Trudeau wound up giving a whole bunch of money to buy new freezers. Meanwhile, the small companies, they were just told, you need to buy new freezers. It's funny how the world works. It's funny, and I mean it in a very sarcastic way, right? It's crap. At the end of the day, it's crap. If you don't have $1 billion just sitting around in an escrow, you're garbage. You're a garbage person, and nobody cares about you. Same as with me, you know? You got to stop and you got to think who's really benefiting from this stuff. And the big companies who want to tell you how things are because their sponsors tell them how they're going to tell you how you're going to think and how things are, they're the ones who benefit. But the free platforms like YouTube, they're dangerous. Twitter, where you can put out thought. When people are going to take over a country, when you've got like the Arab Spring and all these other problems that have happened all throughout the world, you stop for a second and you think, what is the very first move that they do? I don't care if it's in Tunis. I don't care if it's in Egypt. I don't care if it's in Morocco. I don't care where it is. It's just someplace in Africa. They just got finished. This just happened recently. I forget where in Africa. Crap. Just happened like 2-3 days ago. It's the very first thing they do. They shut off social media. That's what they do. They block it out of the country because they don't want you being able to communicate. Bruh, freedom of speech is in jeopardy in a major way. When I see a forward-thinking comic book like this that's just fantasy, horror, body horror, stuff like that, it's cute. But it reminds me big time of what I'm seeing right now. And it's frightening what's about to happen. Everybody's in danger. Everybody is considered a threat to these huge corporations. Like, it's hysterical, but it is what it is. My peeps, support independent media. You can do that by liking the video and watching an ad. God, I hate this stupid world. Otherwise, be super cool and become a patron. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, guys, I'll talk to all y'all later. Yeah, I'm out. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.